Hi, this is Mary Tate, and welcome to How to Play 7-Card Stud. You will need poker chips, a deck of cards, and 2 to 8 players. The next thing we're going to talk about are betting choices. For this topic, we will use the following example. An ante is $1, a bring-in is $1, a small bet is $5, and a big bet is $10. The first betting choice we will discuss is called a fold. A fold is when a person or a player is holding a hand that they think will not result in a winning hand. So they are going to discard their hand or surrender their hand and forfeit their interest in the pot. Folding may be verbally indicated or by discarding one's hand face down into the other pile of discards called the muck. The next betting choice is the bring-in. The bring-in is used in the first betting round, and it is the same dollar amount as the ante. The next betting choice is called the complete. This is a term used in the first betting round. It means the bet will be increased to a full-size bet, which is the small bet. In our example, the complete would be $5. Another betting choice is to check. Checking is what a player does if they wish to pass the action to the next player, but keep playing the hand. This gives the player the option to fold, call, raise, or check again later on in the same betting round. The fifth betting choice is to call. This means to put the same number of chips in the pot that match the bet of the previous player's bet. The term snap call simply means to call without hesitation. The last betting choice in 7-Card Stud is to raise. This means that you increase the size of the bet, either to the small bet in 3rd Street through 5th Street betting rounds, which in our example is a $5 bet, or raise to the big bet in 6th Street through 7th Street rounds, which is $10 in our example. You will learn more about betting streets a little later in this video. Now, since we've gone over some of the background information, it is now time to learn how to play 7-Card Stud. To do this, each person will draw a card from the top of the deck. The person with the highest card will be dealer for that entire hand and will get the dealer chip. Once that hand is entirely played and there's a winner, the person to the left of the dealer will become the new dealer. And for every hand, the dealer will change going clockwise. So let's pick our dealer. Player 1 has a 2 of spades. Player 2, 9 of hearts. Player 3, a 7. And me, a king. So I will be the dealer for this hand, and I receive the dealer chip. After the dealer is chosen, the dealer will gather all the cards and shuffle. Making sure the cards are good and mixed up. He will ask the players to put in their ante. For the rest of the video, we will be using what we used in our previous example. An ante is $1, a bring-in is another $1, a small bet and a complete is $5, and the big bet is $10. So every player will put in 1 chip to represent $1, and that is their ante. After everyone has put in their ante, the dealer will now start dealing the cards. 3 cards will be dealt to each player. 2 cards will be face down, and 1 card will be face up. This round is called the 3rd Street round because each player has 3 cards. The person with the lowest face-up card will start this betting round, and this betting round is called the 3rd Street betting. Depending on what the person has face down, he can make either a bring-in or a complete bet only. So let's deal these cards. 1 face down, then another face down, and then face up. So player 1 has a 6 of hearts, Player 2 has a 6 of spades, and player 3 has a 4 of diamonds. So 4 of diamonds is the lowest card, so player 3 will start the betting. Face down, player 3 has 2 jacks, which is a great starting hand. So player 3 is actually going to just do a bring in because we're just starting out, so we want to kind of get a feel for everyone else. So player 3 will put in 1 chip. Player 1 has a 3 and a 10, and his face-up card was a 6. So this player is going to decide the fold. He's going to surrender his cards because he doesn't think that this is a very good starting hand, and he doesn't see it going anywhere. So he's going to fold. Player 2 has a 4-5 in the hole, which means face down, and a 6 that was showing. So player 2 actually has a potential to have a straight. So player 2 is going to call player 3's bet. So he's going to put in 1 chip. And that's going to conclude the 3rd street round. Next, the dealer will deal another card face up. This is called 4th street because each player will have 4 cards to work with. So player 2 will be dealt a 3 of spades. Player 3 will have a king of hearts. Player 1 will not receive a card because player 1 have already folded. So the person with the highest 2 cards will start the bet for the 4th street betting. That would be player 3 since he has the king. Remember that player 3 has 2 jacks that are face down and a 4 and the king showing. So he has a pretty good hand, but he's not sure yet about what the other players are going to do, so he's going to check and wait to see what player 2 does. Player 2 has a 6-3 showing and has a 4-5 face down. So he has a very good chance of possibly making a straight. So he is going to decide to bet 2 chips. So to stay in the game, player 3 has to call and match the 2 chips, which he's going to do because he feels okay about his 2 jacks. So that concludes the 4th street round. Welcome to 5th street. In the 5th street round, the dealer will deal another card face up to every player still in the game. Player 2 gets a queen, and player 3 gets another jack. So the person with the highest hand will start this betting round, and since player 3 has a king and a jack showing, player 3 starts to bet again. If you recall, player 3 has 2 jacks face down, so he now has a total of 3 jacks, which is a very strong hand. So he feels that he can start the betting at the maximum bet, which in the 5th street round, 3rd, 4th, and 5th street rounds has a maximum bet of 5, which is the small bet. So player 3 will put in 5 chips. Player 2, on the other hand, has a 4, 5, 3, and 6, and a queen. So he's working on a straight, but doesn't quite have it yet, but he still wants to stay in the game because he still might get the straight. So he's going to call with 5 chips. The pot is even, and so that ends 5th street. For our 6th street round, this will be the last card dealt that will be face up. Player 2 has a 10 of hearts. Player 3 has a 10 of clubs. So that didn't help either one of those players. Player 3 has gets to start the bet because they still have the highest face-up cards. Player 3 wants to check because he's just not sure about anything. And player 2 will check as well because the cards that are showing really don't make anything. So the players are kind of at a point where they really don't know what each other has, so they're going to check. For the 7th Street round, which is the last round of the game, each player will receive one card face down. The person who ended the betting with the highest face-up cards starts to bet for this round as well. So that would be player 3. So let's look what player 3 received. Player 3 received the ace. So that does not help player 3 at all, but he does have 3 jacks, which is a pretty okay hand. So he's going to bet 5, which is a small bet, but he doesn't feel that he has a big enough hand to necessarily start off with a big bet yet. And in this round, round 6 and 7, you can bet the big bet, but only in those rounds. So the bet goes to player 2. Player 2 received a 7, so which is an awesome card for player 2, because player 2 now has a 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, which is a straight. But looking at his up cards, he really doesn't have anything, so everything's kind of hidden right now. But he is going to go ahead and raise that bet to the big bet. So he's going to put in 10 chips. So that means the bet goes back to player 3. Player 3 has already put in 5 chips. So in order to get the pot right, player 3 has to put in 5 more chips to match player 2. And so he has to make a decision. He does decide to go ahead and put in those 5 chips to call player 2. So that ends the 7th Street betting. After the 7th Street betting is complete, it's now time for the showdown. All remaining players will show their cards, and the player with the best 5 cards will take home the pot. In other words, the player that wins will receive all the chips that were bet. So let's see what player 2 has. Player 2 is going to use his 2 cards that were face down to make a straight. He will use the 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Player 3 will use his best 3 cards, or best 5 cards, which will be 3 jacks, a king, and an ace. The 3 jacks are the ones that count though, so that's a 3 of a kind. In the rules of poker, a straight beats a 3 of a kind, so player 2 gets all the chips. For your reference, the next part of the video will go over poker hands from the lowest hand to the highest hand. For your reference, we're going to go over poker hands. The first one we're going to talk about is one pair. In our picture, we have 2 aces. A pair can be any numerical value as long as they're the same value. Next is 2 pairs. 2 pairs will have 2 cards of the same value 2 different times. So in our example, we have a pair of queens and a pair of sevens. 2 queens, 2 sevens, 2 pairs. The next hand we will discuss is 3 of a kind. This is where you have 3 cards of any value that are the same. For instance, like our example, we have 3 jacks. Next we have a straight. A straight can be 5 cards in sequential order, any amount though. In our example, we have a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They do not have to be in the same suit, but they do have to be in order. The next is a flush. A flush is where you have any 5 numerical cards as long as they are the same suit. In our example, we have 9, 7, 6, 4, and 2, but they're all clubs, so that's what makes it a flush. A full house is next, and it's where you have 2 cards of the same value and 3 cards of another value. In our picture, we have 2 kings and 3 eights, and that makes a full house. The next hand we're going to talk about is 4 of a kind. This is where you have 4 cards of the same value. Then we have a straight flush. A straight flush is when we have a straight, which of course is 5 cards in sequential numerical value, but this time they all are in the same suit. In our example, we have 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and they're all hearts, so that would be a straight flush. A royal straight flush is where you have the top 5 cards in numerical order in the same suit. The top 5 cards of any suit are 10, Jack, Queen, King, and Ace. And so that's, in our example, they're all spades. So that makes a royal straight flush because they're the top 5 cards and they're all the same suit. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or need more information, I would suggest you go to pokerlistings.com.